Hello, Gareth here, and it's time for another painting adventure. Well, it's Golden Week and I've got a few days off and it's actually sunny. So this year we've had so much rain, which has obviously stopped me from going out and painting. So at last I've got the opportunity, but I did screw up a bit because it's now 2 o'clock, in fact 2:30 almost, and I should have been out early in the morning, but I just was feeling really bad. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go somewhere fairly close, about 1 hour away, so not super close, but it's a place called Shonai. It's a small village, maybe village, could be a town, and I've been there before, but it's been a while, and I'm going to go there and maybe do a painting of the river and some of the buildings by the river. So it's not an extremely picturesque place, but it's quite nice. Anyway, we'll see what happens. And it really is hot today. Wow, it's fantastic. So I'm really quite excited, and I'm just going to make the best of it. This is the view from where I parked. For some reason, I found this scene very appealing. At home, I attempted to paint it, and I was quite happy with the result, especially the sky, which has a beautiful glow. The view of the river on the side where I parked the car was quite beautiful, but I thought the other side would be even better. So I crossed over a nearby bridge. Look at these buildings. I like how these buildings are clustered together and the sharp angle. It's also interesting how they butt up against this rather brutesque concrete wall. At home, I did the following painting of this scene. As with the previous painting, I'm really happy with the glowing sky. I also like, though I can't say exactly why, the grass by the river. For me, it looks very interesting, and I love the colour. As I was looking at the river from the bridge, I saw, to my surprise, a flight of stone steps leading down to the riverbed, and I couldn't resist the temptation to go down them. To get to those steps, I had to walk along a typical Japanese street in the countryside. Such streets are very narrow and have no sidewalk. There are many utility poles and a messy web of wires above your head. It's not exactly picturesque, at least not in my opinion, but it is distinctive. At the top of the stone steps, there was a beautiful view of the river, and I took a few moments to savour the panoramic view. Then I carefully descended. I had to be careful as there was no handrail and I was holding the camera in one hand. One misstep and it would have been the end of not just this painting trip, but also me. At the bottom of the steps, I looked around and saw a very beautiful tree in the near distance. I decided to walk over to the tree and get a good look at the surrounding area for possible painting spots. Near the tree was a stony area. I sat down here and got my drone out. I love this tree here. It's like, okay, I'm being silly here, but you know, like when you remember those covers from fantasy novels, and it just reminds me of that for some reason. Just so beautiful. A little bit magical for me. Next, I looked for a good painting spot. When I found one, I put my easel up, got out my tools, and was soon busily painting away. I was so content. I wore my very floppy hat, which protects me from the intense sunshine that you get in Japan. I began the painting with a very loose sketch. I used a pen, which I much prefer over using a pencil. At this stage, the challenge was how not to draw all those rocks, but at the same time suggest that they were many. Then I started to put in my light watery washes. It's all very soft at this stage of the painting, and this is when I added the soft clouds and that hazy blue mountain in the distance. Then it was time to put in all the greenery. This could easily become overwhelming, especially trying to depict all those patches of grass among the rocks by the side of the river. The solution was to brutally simplify the number of patches. And then I was painting all those rocks. Again, I'm simplifying them into simple patches. I thought the blue-grey colour that I mixed up and used for the rocks was very beautiful. And then I added the river reflection, which turned out way better than I expected. And then it was time to add the shadows. This was perhaps the trickiest part of the painting, but also the most exciting. It was at this stage that the painting started to come to life. I must admit, it did take a long time though to paint all those rock shadows. And then I went back and intensified the shadows in various places to create greater depth to the final painting. Finally, with my liner brush and some white paint, I added highlights to various areas. This is the icing on the cake stage, and these final touches make the painting pop, but it can sometimes be a bit difficult to stop. I also added a few more darks. And here is the finished painting. Bum 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 bum. I think it has a nice delicacy, and the colours work well together. I'm especially pleased with the large tree in the foreground, the river reflection, and the hazy blue mountain in the distance. I finished, and look at that beautiful sky. Well, it could have been more spectacular. The sun has sadly gone behind the clouds, but maybe a little later we'll get this fantastic evening glow. We'll see. Here are a few final beautiful views that I caught as I was walking back to the car. These images will probably inspire and become a reference for future paintings. So I finished, and now I'm going home. Look at these amazing steps. Love it. Look at those mountains over there. Aren't they beautiful? I walked back to the car with a feeling of deep satisfaction. I had done a pretty good painting. It's always nice when that happens. And I had some beautiful images from which I could do future paintings. It was now evening time, and the place felt quieter and more peaceful. As I reached the car, I could hear the gentle and pleasing sound of chirping insects and birds. Back in Oita City where I live, I saw this spectacular sky as I was driving across the bridge. What a glorious ending to my painting adventure.